All right, everybody. So yeah, welcome to my presentation called Just Drop and Render. A little bit of a different presentation than some of the stuff I normally do, but we're going to be talking about building an easy-to-use cloud rendering solution for Houdini. My name is Tim van Helsdingen. I'm a freelance Houdini artist and I'm a Houdini teacher. So I work as a freelance artist for a bunch of studios from all around the world. A lot of advertising stuff, and last couple of years also been doing a lot of like shows for artists, like worked on Taylor Swift Eras Tour and stuff like that. I have a YouTube channel where I teach Houdini, which is like it's a reasonably large YouTube channel. So if you've watched some tutorials on Houdini, you might have come across some of my stuff. So like I really love doing that, and I'm hopefully gonna have time to record more videos in the future because I haven't uploaded in a while, but that we're gonna be doing. First, let's have a look at a little show reel that I put together so you kind of have an idea of some of the work that I've done, and then we're gonna get into the topic of the presentation. So now onto the topic of my presentation. Oh, thanks. Yeah, so just drop and render. So drop and render is a cloud render farm. They're Dutch, just like me. I live in the Netherlands, and we got acquainted through a mutual friend of ours, Jan-Paul Dubbelman. So they're normally a Cinema 4D render farm, and we got in touch because they wanted to do a Houdini plugin to be able to render, to also render stuff on the farm with Houdini, and they didn't know anything about Houdini, so like we need an external person to come in. So yeah, I got in touch with J.W. Zegelaar. In Dutch it sounds better, just JW. But he's the founder and developer at Drop and Render. Unfortunately, he's not here because he's getting a baby like this week. So he couldn't come to FMX because getting witnessing the birth of your child is more important. Yeah. So yeah, he's the founder and developer of Drop and Render. He used to be a 3D artist as well, and he developed plugins for Cinema 4D, and he had like his own small render farm that keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually that got to the point where he just made it into an actual render farm. So they have their own rendering infrastructure in the Netherlands as well. So it's not AWS nodes like a lot of render farms are doing. It's actually just hosted in the Netherlands. They have their own data center. Yeah, so we got talking, and like it was kind of cool because like I got to come in and they just said, all right, tell me how you want it to work, and we're gonna make it like that, which is kind of fun. It's like I've used some of the like Houdini. There's multiple Houdini cloud render farms, and I've tried some, but they always kind of felt that they weren't not really adapting to the way I like to work. So because I want the sort of if I want to farm something out, I want the tools to sort of adapt to the way I like to work, and I don't want to adapt to the cloud tools. Because the thing is, like, if I'm gonna sim or render something in the cloud, I wanna I don't know beforehand, and I don't want to start putting like specific cloud caching nodes or whatever. I just wanna, oh no, emergency, I want renders. Let's put down a thing and just submit it, and it should just work and just no hassle. So like I want it to feel native to the software, kind of like it's just part of the software, and I don't want to be used to use any specific cloud caching nodes. I don't want to be able to just use it from one context, and I want to just automatically gather assets from anywhere, wherever you had it local on your server or whatever. So when we started doing this, like we had a meeting, and I was like explaining him kind of the workflows around Houdini. Like they didn't know anything about Houdini. It was like they were looking into it. But like the way I like to work quite a lot is fetching stuff in ROP context. So for example, this is a very simple example, but let's say I would need to do a sim, a mesh, a render. I would fetch stuff from there, and this will run one after another. So you have the sim, you have the mesh, and then you have to render. Just set up your dependencies like this. Or I use locally on my machines, like I have Deadline, and I have a couple of render machines at home, and I will use dependencies with Deadline and can submit it, have my other machines render it. And I have my own little workflow set up to work like this. And if I want to submit something to a farm, I just want it to work like that. So when we had the meeting, I just showed him some screenshots and whatever. Like I want to be able to do this. Like I want to just merge some stuff and then just have my fetches in with all my render nodes and my whatever, and then automatically have the thing set up all the dependencies. And I just need to drop this down and then it will just work. Again, so this is just a screenshot just with an empty subnet there, just for demonstration purposes. But it's kind of how I would want it to work, or I would want to be able to just do this, like have a file cache, just hook something up and just submit it and don't have to do weird stuff. It should just work from the Houdini context. So I made a whole bunch of test files, including some stuff that from the SideFX library, like the npm masterclass and whatever, but also some bunch of other things. So one of the first examples that we sort of started testing, building the tools on, was just a thing from a tutorial that I've made. There's a thing from a tutorial that I have with putting like UVs on a fluid. So I made one for drop and render. You can see here. So we started using these, like this thing as a sort of a first test. So now I'm going to do something that you should normally never do in a presentation, is do a live demo. Let me just kind of show you some of the stuff that we've been making. So quite a pretty simple scene. I'll go through it so you actually have some interesting things in Houdini itself, sort of how some of this stuff works. So we just have a sphere, putting it as a flip source, adding some rest attributes. So if you want to texture something after the fact, you kind of need a way to be able to project your textures, which is either UV attribute or rest attribute. So we're adding that here, adding some random velocity, random viscosity, and then we're just doing a simple flip simulation in here, just sourcing it, and then we're gonna have it being simmed out over here. And then we're having another. So here's a compressed cache of the simulation. And then there we go. As you can see, a compressed cache, beautiful. And then from there it's going through a meshing step, and then we're adding here. I'm just adding some color. Now a little quick tip: if you're emitting rest, for example, on a liquid simulation, you can use that to, for example, add an attribute here to sort of add a nice noise, and it will move with the thing. And if you try to do this, if you ever tried this, you'll get really blocky results. So pro tip: attribute blur your thing. So then it goes from something like this to having actual nice detail, and then we can add a little bit of extra detail in there with something like this. You can see we actually get some details. So just a couple of tips, but then here we have the out mesh, and then we'd render it in here in a quick setup here, just bringing everything in and then rendering it. Right, now let's say we want to render this in the render farm. What I can just do is, here I have two setups. Let's just first have a look at what it would look like if you just want to render this. So this is already cached out. So you just put down the drop and render node. You drop it down and then you render. We can first you need to press the Start Cloud Manager. I already have it open, but then you just submit your project. You just use check scene. You just come in with the frame ranges and everything. It will automatically collect all of the assets that you're using, so you don't really need to do anything. You just press submit. I'm not gonna submit it right now because we're doing a live demo, but then it'll just go on the farm and it'll render. Very basic, because this is just one render. If we want to do the dependencies like here, what I like to do always is, like you can see here, I'm putting this to the sort of ROP output geometry. Actually, you can actually also, with the tools that we made, you can actually also, you don't need to put it to the ROP output geometry. You could actually just do it like this, just point it to a file cache and it will just work. You just drag it in the fetch. You can just do it like that. So here we're saying, all right, we want sim to run, then we want mesh to run. And then we want, depending on the mesh, we want the karma thing to run, which again, I'm fetching here from my lobnet. So just fetching this thing here. So then if I just open this thing, again, scene check. Right, so we're gonna get here the sim. I'm gonna hear the mesh, gonna be dependent on the sim. And we're gonna have the render is gonna be dependent on the mesh. You can see this has a different frame range, automatically picks up on all of the frame ranges. You can say if you want to download these caches, yes or no. So you can turn that on, and from there you can just submit, and it'll just work. Again, it'll do these assets. Again, now like we in this case, we already have the caches, so we would not necessarily want to upload them because we want to maybe do a new higher resolution one. So let me just version up. Now let's go in here, and then we go like this, scene check, and it will say, all right, caches are missing, obviously, because we haven't simulated them yet. So this will, if we just submit this, it will just sim, render, whatever you can say with what do you want to download, automatically download in whatever folder that you just set up your file cache nodes, so you don't have to put anything weird. So, and that'll all work. Now, another sort of interesting thing that we kind of tried. So if you've ever rendered with like Karma, you do it from Solaris. So Solaris is a USD-based workflow within Houdini, and Karma is it's a render delegate. So there's actually two ways that you can sort of render this, and during production we kind of wonder. So the default way that's recommended to sort of render big scenes is to convert your entire scene to a USD and then ingest that in Husk. That's sort of the the thing that can, part of Houdini that can sort of ingest USD and then render from there. Benefit there is that you can have one machine, for example, export your entire scene into USD, and then once that is done, you can have your render nodes pick up the USD from there, and you'll save on render time because it doesn't need to use Houdini in the background. It'll just pick up on the USD thing. So there's two ways we can submit it, because like this is one thing that we run into when we were doing this. So if you see, if I submit it like this with this on, you can see we get one job running on a single machine. You can see a single machine, yes, and then so it will render that once the USD finishes exporting. Then it will do it like this. I can show you a little demo in here of kind of what that how that works. So you kind of learn something about USD. So what I like to do is here I have. So this is kind of what would happen under the hood if you do this. You give an output path, $hip USD paint.USD. In this case, I'm flattening everything, so I'm collapsing all of the layers, so all of the geometry data will get written into one USD file, but there's of course also assets like textures and whatever. So you can actually, if you're setting this up, by default, if we do a USD rob, it will come in like this. So you can either keep references or do whatever you want, but in this case we had it set to flatten. If you go to output processing, by default it's set to use relative paths, but this will not copy any of the assets. So if you want to localize something for let's say you make a USD asset, you want to give it to like your coworker or whatever, easy way to do it is you can actually put it to copy all assets referencing. You can, for example, say assets. You need to put that before. It will copy everything into the assets directory, all your stuff that you're using, and then it's going to make them relative, and you can just drag that, like give that folder to someone, you can load it in as a sublayer, and then you can see here, for example, I'm loading this in, and I have here paint, and I have, if I remove all of this, then you can actually see what else is in here. You can see it just puts all of the textures and everything. In this case, it's not really a lot, but so this will all just come in. And then you get, where are we? All right, there we go. Go to the camera. So you have, and on Mac, this viewport, there's a viewport bug on Mac, but it'll render if I put this to. So you get just your full thing. So, okay, so you might think, all right, this is all great, but we actually run into an interesting issue, which I'm gonna show a little project that I worked on, which we had that thing implemented, and then I worked on a project, and I tried to do some of that stuff, and then things broke. So this one I'm gonna show this as a demo. So this project that I worked on, at Monks. There's their company in the Netherlands. So together with Kaleida, they sort of make hologram experiences, and it was for Walt Disney Company, and MPC, of course, did a lot of Lion King stuff. So I'll show the thing that I worked on.
It's time I tell you a story. A story of a cub, not much bigger than you. Mufasa.
I'm not astray. I'm just lost.
And the prince
I always wanted a brother.
who would come to be known as Scar.
A story! So glad I brought some crickets.
This is not a drill!
There will be one Lion King.
Yeah, so here's the full credit list of people that worked on it. So as I worked on it together with Ivan. We did all the Houdini stuff. Yeah, so as you could see, it was quite a long sequence. We didn't really have a lot of time, and there was we had this portal of clouds that needed to constantly open and close. And if you've ever done any smoke simulations, very tight sort of controls of opening, closing is quite sort of tricky to do like that. So came up with a little bit of a different workflow to do some of that stuff. So which used a tool that I was actually making for myself at the time. So I'll show you a demo of a tool that I made, and then we'll get back into why this is relevant. All right.
Ever needed to grow fields of hundreds of thousands of flowers? Ever needed to populate your scene with dozens of explosions and carefully time them? A folder of hundreds of wedges and you want to distribute them through your scene and don't want to carefully load every single one individually? This is where Path Sequencer comes in. The easiest way to instance in Houdini: retime your instances, click, it works. Point it to a sequence, click, it works. Just point it to a folder, drag some sliders to retime them, easy does it. Drive them by particles, drive them by attributes you create yourself. It all works. Path Sequencer for Houdini, the easiest way to instance.
All right, very promo, but this we'll get to the point now. So I actually I have a little demo here of, it's not from the Mufasa scene, but it's something that I recreated to sort of match what I kind of did, just to show up to kind of show a problem that we ran in when we were doing the render solution. So here I have I need to go here. All right, there we go. So actually what I ended up doing is I actually made little, so I guess a more game-ish technique that I just ended up using. So I simulated a bunch of cloudlets, something like this. I had a couple. And then I have a thing here where I just have a torus. I'm just scattering some points in here, doing point deform, and I have another torus. And again, sort of just animate these things like this. Then I'm setting with my own little tool set that I have, just initialize attributes, orient, whatever. And then we have geosequence. This allowed me to just sort of give it a sequence, pretty much the thing that we have here. And this will sort of instance this on these particles, and then can sort of randomly time offset them in these retime instances. You can see here it's gonna sort of randomly retime them, and this will allow me to just have very tight control over just opening and closing this little portal thing, just sort of a hacky little way. But that worked pretty well because I could like open and close this portal in a very strict time, and also they wanted really tight shapes on these clouds, so just like you have in the movie, which is with like the simulation stuff, we will start diffusing. So this worked really well for that. So here we have we just have this sort of, again, this little thing. So this would render like this, and you'll have a little cloud thing. Right. Now you might think, all right, then we're gonna save this whole thing out as USD and we're gonna ingest it with Husk. Turns out that there are some issues with, like, and I asked Tom at SideFX also about why is this breaking, and still haven't been able to figure it out. So what this thing is, we'll try to localize this, but because I'm doing these instancing offsets on BGOs in SOPs, this will, if I load this into Solaris, it will sort of every frame create and destroy primitives, or like try to update these things. And turns out if we try to sort of save this out, it's not super clear in the viewport, but you're going to get little flickerings where it will lose track of a primitive and whatever. I'm not sure if this is a bug in Solaris or whatever, but I haven't been able to fix it. So turns out there are some of these things, which is where it's not ideal to do this directly as a USD. So that's why we're gonna go back to the other example where we have an option for doing both. So you can either choose to doing the proper way and sort of doing the whole USD workflow and just having it sort of split. There we go, conversion per frame or all frames. So you get the option. One uses Houdini in the backend, which of course is gonna like take a little bit longer because it needs to fire up Houdini, start processing all of these things. But you have these options to do both. It's kind of a cool thing. So let me show another thing that we kind of ran into. So this is not a file that I made myself. This is from the NPM masterclass, kindly provided by SideFX. NPM is a solver in Houdini, which it's a sort of it's a material-based solver. You just set it up and it kind of works. And I should have a little demo of the thing rendered. Again, that is not my own render, but this is sort of the render that it produces if you render this out. So from the people at SideFX. So I took this thing because I wanted to test out these tools that we're making, see like, all right, how would all of this kind of work. So I just have everything. This is just a straight up the ship breach file that they provide with everything in here, and then all of the file caches, just straight up, just the file caches how they came with. I didn't need to add anything. I just needed to fetch them here in this context so we can simulate them out, and then we can go into. All right. So here you can set your priorities and whatever. If you want to pay more, you put it to diamond. This is the testing one, so that's not available for you guys. But so if I do this, I just get my whole. It takes a little bit longer. But you can see all of the things get gathered, all of the dependencies are set. One thing that I requested them to add is to be able to get a tick box so I can turn off downloading on all of these things except for the last one and not need to go in every single one. So they're going to add that. But one thing here that you might notice, so it automatically gathers all of the assets. But in this file, for example, this is a lot of a very big file that has all of these npm examples. So it's also gonna include all of the assets for like that you don't need. For example, from like some of the fruit smash and whatever. So we can actually go to. Okay. Apparently, this is why you don't do live demos. He sent an update yesterday, so I guess that broke it. But if you do auto select, normally you're able to select the nodes there that you're using, and then it will automatically put like exclude all of the stuff that you're not using, and then it will just only use the ones from the node, and you can just submit it from there, and it'll just sim and render and do its thing, and you don't need to upload terabytes if you only have a little bit of thing that you want to simulate or set. So it should all gather all your assets yourself. If you want to do local assets, you can add a folder, you can add files like this, because we're in beta, so it's not completely out yet. So there's still bugs here and there. So if it doesn't find anything, just try it like that. So we're doing a little. There's a web UI that should be live today, I think, the whole Houdini thing, and that's kind of where you now come in. We need your help. You can test it. There's cards here. You can grab it. You get 100 euros of rendering. You can render for free. There's no strings attached. You make the account and you do add credits 100, and you do the card, and then you just subtract 100, and you can just render for free. And then you just try it out. At the moment, we support Mantra, Karma, Redshift, and Octane. There's going to be more render engines coming. Help us test it out. And then hopefully we'll try to make it the best sort of rendering solution that we can. Again, you're going to run into bugs, but that's why we're doing the beta. I think we've made something that I really like it. I've been using it a lot in production to just render stuff, and it's been working really well. So if you have any questions about either drop and render stuff or some of the other just demos that I sent or anything else, just hit me up with a question. So any questions? No questions. Don't be shy. You.
Hi.
Hi.
It's working? Yeah. Great presentation. It's really interesting. I'm wondering, is the render farm supporting GPU render?
Yeah. They have because they have their own data center, and they actually the cool thing about that is they actually just running 4090s, because a lot of data centers, if they spin up AWS instances, going to be all the Quadro whatever. They just have their own their 4090s. A couple of, I think, still with 3090s, and they're experimenting now with a couple of 5090s in there. So it's all they have GPU farm. You can do GPU batches, CPU stuff. It all it's fast. It's really fast. So it's quite nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Hi. How do you manage custom environment variables? Is just getting expanded or before?
Yeah, so it picks up on it automatically. So if you use custom environment variables, it will automatically gather them from it. Actually, if you try to add a folder from an external folder, then it will also actually. So if I do add local assets, whatever. If I do a folder, I don't know. Can I? Oh, that's all right. That's. Let me add a random folder. I don't know. Let me find a random folder. All right, this one. Yeah, and it's actually asked you to set up an environment variable in order to map that. But by default, if you have any custom environment variable set, it will just pick up on it. And if you, let's say, if you have an environment variable like $assets that goes to your network drive and you render to that, for example, it will automatically also, once they finish rendering, they will automatically go that folder as well. So you're not tied up to your own HIP location. You can have stuff go anywhere. And then again, it should technically all work, but hopefully at some point without bugs. And now it works 80% of the time, and then hopefully we'll get it to 99%.
Cool, thank you.
Hi. Here.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of render engines are supported so far?
Yeah, so at the moment it's Karma, Mantra, Redshift, and Octane. And I think, like he talked about adding V-Ray and Arnold, but at the moment they are not supported yet. Hopefully, they will at some point, because Arnold is used quite a lot, of course. But for the moment, it's mostly these render engines. So, I guess we'll have to wait until. We first need to get everything smoothed out and tested. So that's where everybody can just come in and try it out.
Cool. And one following question.
Yeah.
Sorry. Where is you said the render farms are located in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure where exactly they have the data center. Like the drop and render is located in Dordrecht.
Okay.
And the render farm, this data center is somewhere around there, but
only Netherlands, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not part of drop and render. I'm sort of external, and I'm helping them build the thing. So sure. I don't know all of their internal workings, but it's somewhere in the Netherlands. So it's not just AWS stuff, which I personally kind of like, because that's what a lot of
exactly. That's the point.
Yeah. So I think I do like if you generate download. So I think some of the if you go to web UI and you want to download stuff, then it will sort of provide you, it will push it to AWS to get a download link. So there's still some of that, but the rendering itself happens just on the data center. So it's,
okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Doing the front row.
The entire front row is going.
No, I think we should wrap it up. So great presentation, Tim. Thanks very much. Drop and render.